You might try eliminating gluten from your diet for, maybe 3 weeks or so, and see if you feel better, if it makes a difference. So your guide to basically gluten-free eating is the following. You want to avoid all foods that contain wheat, oats, barley, and rye. That would be a tough one for me. I don't know how I'd be able to do that. Technically, oats are gluten-free, but you can find gluten-free versions of them if you're trying to eliminate them. So look at labels carefully and look for gluten. It can show up in soups, cold cuts, salad dressings, candies, soy sauce, starch, modified food starch. Look at things like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, or HVP for short, or hydrolyzed plant protein, HPP for short, texturized vegetable protein, TVP for short, binders, fillers, excipients, extenders, malt, natural flavorings, all of which may indicate the presence of gluten. If you've ever looked at those labels, you can see a lot of those things, and you're wondering, what on earth are these things, right? Well, they're gluten sources, apparently, among other things. When getting started, you can possibly find an app for your phone to help you sort through the confusion, or make sure your packaged foods are saying that they are gluten-free on the label. You might want to go, if you are near a grocer that specializes in gluten-free products, you look for gluten-free things like pancake mixes, pizza dough, bread, and so forth. They are processed foods, so be careful. And limit your intake of that. But for special occasions, that's something that you can do to maintain your gluten-free lifestyle, but still enjoy the taste of breads and such. But the heavy focus you should have would be on eggs, on fish, if you can, if you're a fish eater, organic meats, organic chickens and things like that, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. And you want to research, where gluten can be hidden in products we use every day. Even stamps and envelope adhesive, and some medications and some skin and hair care products can have gluten. So if you go to looks like celiac.org, you can find more information on places where you could possibly encounter gluten if you're interested in pursuing a gluten-free lifestyle. So that website again is celiac.org, and I guess we'll post that on the Facebook website as well. Next, so spring can be a very, very busy time. You're trying to get things done, and you may be trying to get too much done. There may be many, many things that call for your or demand your attention. So we want to talk about some ways we can stay centered and calm when this happens and you start to feel pulled in different directions. So here's the spiritual aspect of wellness that I consider the spiritual aspect, the ability to stay centered and calm. It's a very important tool, to say the least. So, the way to do that is often just to take the time out and turn within. Find that place that you go to feel calm. If you find these demands on your time overwhelming, you need to learn to say no. When someone asks you to do or attend something you don't want to do. And it's better to say no early on, and instead of maybe or we'll see. So in essence, protect your schedule. Prioritize your commitments so you don't overschedule yourself. You don't need to feel guilty, because no one can do it all. So find out what your limits are, and be, satisfied with them. And not that you shouldn't maybe test your limits, push them a little bit, but also respect them. You need to schedule me time, that turning within that I was talking about, so that you can stay grounded and in touch with your thoughts and feelings. Meditation is a great thing to do during this me time. You may also want to consider doing yoga. That's another thing I found very satisfying for me time. You could take a yoga class, or you can do yoga right in your own home. There's wonderful, wonderful videos and DVDs that allow you to take part in yoga poses and so forth and so on, and guide you through them. Take time to enjoy the little things. The little things mean so much. Read a book. Start an art project. Take a walk. Treat yourself to a massage or anything that you enjoy. And then unplug. That's something we talk about on the show all the time. Schedule certain time to unplug from screens, social media, news feeds, and all of that. And disconnect for a while. Set your phone to do not disturb. Embrace the silence, if you will. If you start to feel bored or anxious, which is something that some people begin to feel once they're unplugged and they want to go and check their cell phone or their Facebook page or what have you, try taking a walk. Look at the sunrise. Read a chapter or two in a book. Just stare off into space. Don't be afraid to be bored. Boredom can actually be a healthy thing. So along with that, keeping centered, we also want to find ways to keep ourselves happy. And research shows that focusing on loving kindness helped students in this research project feel happier, more connected, empathetic, and less anxious. They spent 12 minutes walking around a building wishing happiness for every person they encountered. The results showed that the extending unspoken loving kindness promoted positive changes in the student's mindset, independent of their baseline personality. A second group of students were asked to look at the people they saw, think about how they are connected to each other, and focus on feelings or experiences they may share. Afterward, these students felt more connected, but did not gain the other benefits that the students who extended loving kindness gained, such as more happiness and less anxiety. Those in a third group were instructed to look at others and think about how they themselves may be better off than the people they encountered. No benefits were seen among those in that group. So, this is fascinating research. I don't know how long those effects happen. But focusing on things being, on being connected and wishing happiness for all, that's a powerful tool. And feeling a sense of positivity and acceptance. Mindfulness meditation is really good at that. A lot of happiness or unhappiness comes from your ability to accept what is without judgment. And beyond that, not only without judgment, but knowing that whatever is helping you to grow, is helping you to expand and become more of who you are and reconnect to your highest level of being. That's what we talk about on this show all the time. I do it to remind myself. And along the way, if there are others who benefit from it, I'm truly grateful for that and welcome the opportunity to do so. All right, so the last thing in our Spring Wellness Edition is some new research that talks about the effects of coffee. And apparently, you don't even have to drink it to feel the effects. This study from the University of Toronto found that just by being exposed to reminders of coffee can influence your response to it. They set out to learn whether images of coffee would induce a state of arousal or becoming alert, awake, attentive, which is what we use coffee for, waking up. All the jokes about, don't talk to me till I've had my first cup of coffee in the morning, that sort of thing. They wanted to see if just images of coffee would induce these effects, and apparently it did. They explained that this can be triggered by emotions which influence neurotransmitters in the brain. They explored the effects related to viewing coffee-themed images in 4 studies involving participants exposed to coffee-related cues, perceived the elapsed time as shorter, and thought in more concrete, precise terms. The investigators also reported that the impact of the cues wasn't as pronounced among participants who grew up in Eastern cultures, where the association between coffee and arousal isn't as strong as it is in the West. Well, isn't that interesting? So they're going to continue doing more research about foods and the associations that people have with them, possibly including energy drinks and or red wine. So that's very interesting, but very much in line with what we talk about on this show, which is that we are creating everything. Our minds are what trigger what we experience. So fascinating research. I'll be excited to see what else they look at over there in the University of Toronto. And that is going to do it for our Spring Wellness Edition. So next chance you will have to focus on that will more than likely be the Autumn Wellness Edition that we do. But we may do one for spring, too, if there's a call for it. But until then, until next we meet, stay calm, centered, use your meditative experience to extend happiness to others, and you will experience your own sense of joy.